Hey guys, welcome back to the video. I'm Luke, an ACA qualified accountant, having passed all 15 of my ACA exams at the first attempt while studying at a Big Four firm. And then after my time at the Big Four, I transitioned into a career within investment banking, and I now spend my days helping current ACA candidates pass their exams. And in today's video, we're going to discuss the professional level business strategy and technology exam and some advice and some tips to help you guys pass that paper. So BST is one of the more wordy essay-based exams you're going to face on the qualification. There's not much in terms of calculations and maths in this exam. It's much more focused on longer form written answers. You'll face 3 scenario-based questions involving a business case, and you'll need to provide long form written responses. You'll need to analyse strategic, operational and financial issues a business is facing and recommend realistic solutions to those issues. The pass rate for this exam is 85%, so most candidates who study towards this particular paper do pass it, and it's generally considered to be one of the easiest, if not the easiest, professional level exams that you're going to face. There's a lot that can be tested, but what I would say is that this exam does not introduce a hell of a lot of new content and new material. It builds upon a lot of the knowledge that you've already accumulated in exams like management information, business technology and finance, and financial management. So in this video, I'm going to discuss some advice and some tips to help focus your study and revision strategy and hopefully make you feel a lot more confident walking into exam day. So yeah, let's get started. So my first piece of advice when it comes to preparing for the business strategy and technology exam is to not spend too much time in the ICAEW workbook. This isn't an exam where you need to memorize pages of technical theory. It's a lot more about application. Like audit and assurance, BST is one of those exams which tests you on concepts that you're already familiar with and have already learnt at the certificate level. It's just testing them in a new format. There's not a whole lot of new conceptual information introduced here in BST. You've seen most of this stuff before at the certificate level. The difference here is that in BST, you're going to be tested in essay-based format as opposed to through multi-choice questions. You have all the knowledge you need to pass this exam because you've already got through BTF, MI, and FM. You just need to apply it. So the main thing you need to think about when you're studying and preparing for this exam is exam technique. And this will all come through in your question bank practice. So instead of spending weeks page turning through the workbook, I recommend getting into question practice as soon as possible. So start going through the question bank, do mock exams as early as you can so you can get a flavour for what the exam is going to look like and how the material is going to be tested, because this is all about exam technique. Use mark schemes to understand how answers should be structured and how the paper is examined. Focus on applying what you already know in a scenario-based, essay-based style. The earlier you start practicing BST questions, the more confident you're going to feel going into the exam. My second tip when it comes to BST is to learn and apply the key models. So you need to know your business models inside out when it comes to BST, not just what they are, but also how to apply them. So when I say models, I'm referring to Porter's 5 forces, so the competitor model, the value chain model, Boston Consulting Group matrix, and organizational structures. Just name dropping a model isn't enough here. You need to identify where it's relevant to the scenario and be able to apply it. You need to be able to apply these models directly to the scenario that you're presented with in the exam. Knowledge on its own isn't enough. That's what the certificate level exams were for. At the professional level, you need to be able to demonstrate that you can apply all of the knowledge that you've accumulated at the certificate level. For example, say you're advising a business that operates in a market that's just had a new competitor come in and has undercut them on price and is now outselling them. You need to think about what models apply and why. Model application will help you generate a lot of marks quickly. The examiners are looking for you to apply models in this exam. That's what they're going to award a lot of marks for. So you need to be able to show to the examiner that you have a deep understanding of all of the different models that come up across the BST syllabus, and you can use them in a practical business context. That's exactly what they're looking for in this exam, and if you can do that, you're going to pass. My third tip is to not neglect the technology component. So back in the day, BST used to just be called business strategy. There was no technology component. That element was added relatively recently, and it now makes up around 10% of the exam. So it's quite a decent weighting, so you need to be pretty confident when it comes to the technology component of BST because it's relatively new, so the ICAEW are likely to test it quite heavily. And look, 10% of the marks is quite a lot, and the technology side isn't too complicated and too complex. So if you can get 8-9% of the marks in that area, then you're going to be well on your way to doing well in the exam. Given it's still a relatively new area of the syllabus, and look, it's topical, examiners are going to test it, so don't just focus on business strategy. Make sure you're integrating the technology topics into your revision as well, and make sure you're attacking technology-based questions and applying tech points in your answers to your questions. Make sure you cover topics like big data, cloud computing, back office systems, cybersecurity, automation and AI. Expect to see these kind of ideas and concepts built into case study scenarios. These are easy marks if you're well prepared, so don't skip out on this area. The examiners are deliberately including tech elements now into their questions to test your awareness. In my personal opinion, this is an easy source of marks, so don't neglect the technology area of the syllabus. My fourth tip when it comes to BST is to not overplan and just get writing. This is a time-pressured exam. You'll have around 2.5 hours to complete the paper, and each question comes with quite long and wordy scenarios that you need to read and assimilate and understand before you start addressing the question. It does take time to first read the question and read the scenario and get comfortable with it, and then to actually answer the question in itself takes time. In my opinion, spending at most 5 minutes writing a quick skeleton of a plan is going to be more than enough to prepare for each requirement. You don't need to waste too much time planning when it comes to BST. There isn't really enough time to write out a fully fleshed out plan, and there are a lot of easy marks available just for writing down the basic financial, strategic and operational issues present in the scenario. So don't overplan. Focus on getting down the key ideas in your plan and how you want to structure your answer at a high level, but I wouldn't really do any more than that. Like, here's what worked for me when I sat the BST exam. I probably spent around 10 minutes just reading, annotating and getting comfortable with the scenario. Then I spent about 5 minutes planning, so writing out a brief structure, like how I was going to think about the answer, how I was going to intro it and conclude. And then I spent the rest of the time just writing. It's not worth spending loads of time crafting the perfect plan. You'll score marks by making clear, relevant points and linking them directly to the scenario, not by over planning. When planning, I would just focus on being clear on what the question is asking you, jotting down key facts about the scenario that you want to mention, and then just dive straight into your answer. My fifth tip is to keep up to date with real-world financial and business issues. So this is one of the few ACA exams where real-world knowledge can actually help you pick up additional marks. The majority of exams that you're going to come up against on the ACA qualification are more theoretical, but this is one exam where I do think it's worth applying real-world knowledge. There are marks available for being able to reflect and build upon real-world stories and real-world news that is impacting businesses similar to the one that you're being asked about in the scenario. For example, if the case involves a retail business, you can reference how the cost of living crisis has affected the sector. That could show deeper insight. If the company is expanding internationally, you could discuss the implication of Trump tariffs. There's so many real-world issues that you can bring in that could potentially impact the business that you're discussing in your scenario. So it's just worth having a little bit of an idea as to what's going on in the real-world business sphere. During your revision phase, just a couple of weeks before the exam, I would spend time staying up to date with financial news, business trends, build out a mind map of all the key macro issues affecting the key sectors, so retail, tech, financial services, and learn 2 to 3 real-world challenges that each sector is facing. This may help you score some additional marks in the exam, and I think it will show to the examiner that you really do have a decent grasp of real-world business issues. My penultimate piece of advice to doing well in BST is to tailor your ethics answers to the scenario that you're presented with in the exam. Now, a major pitfall that candidates often fall into is that they write generic, pre-scripted ethics answers based on mark schemes that they've seen in the question bank. You need to write tailored, specific ethic answers based on the scenario that you're given. Read the scenario in the exam and identify the specific ethical issue that you're presented with. Tailor your response with relevant threats and safeguards, and avoid waffling. Make each point specific, concise, and clearly link it to the situation at hand. What the examiners really want to see here is critical thinking. They don't want to see a copy and paste answer you memorized during your revision. Read the scenario carefully and apply ethical reasoning, which is specific to the business you're presented with. Make your answer bespoke. My final tip is just a short one. If possible, I would recommend studying Business Strategy Technology with Financial Management. Now, these two exams have a lot of overlap. I would say FM is the quantitative side of BST and BST is the qualitative side of FM. If you can study these two exams together, you get the opportunity to do so in your training scheme, definitely do. It will save you a lot of time because there are synergies across the workbooks. I studied these two together and it helped me link theory to numbers and numbers to strategy. I found that the theory from BST was backed up by the computations in FM. Cool, so that's some tips and some advice to help you pass the BST exam. To wrap up, don't dwell on the theory, jump straight into question practice, get through the question bank and start getting a flavour for what the exam is actually going to look like. You don't need to spend days going through the workbook. Know your models, Porter's 5 forces, competitor models, value chains, and be able to apply those to scenario-based questions in the exam. That's really going to help you rack up the marks quickly and demonstrate to the examiner you have a solid understanding of business strategy. Cover the technology side. This is a relatively new area of the syllabus, so the ICAEW are going to focus on it, and around 10% of the marks come from technology, so it's not worth foregoing those marks. Manage your time. This can be quite a time-pressured exam and there's a lot to write. Don't spend too much time planning your scenarios. Just get writing on exam day. Stay aware of real-world business trends. These can help boost your answers if you're able to discuss, current affairs in your answers. That can demonstrate to the examiner again that you have a good understanding of broader business issues. Tailor your ethics answers. Don't just wheel out answers that you've just seen from the question bank if they're not bespoke to the scenario that you're presented with, and try and pair this exam with financial management if you can. There's a lot of overlap between those two papers and there's a lot of synergies to be gained. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. I'm making tons of videos about the ACA qualification and I'm making courses for all 15 of the exams, so it would be great to have you on board for this journey. If you've got the exam coming up, I wish you the best of luck for it. You're going to absolutely smash it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.